Well, Daniel, the Germans seems to be optimistic about the state of the world economy. That's what a new survey shows.
Let me tell you that our line actually just interrupted, but I would, if you don't mind, just continue with our conversation a little bit earlier and tell you a little bit how German companies are seeing actually the political situation we are having here at the moment. You mentioned it a little bit earlier in your program. There is this political term or the situation in Iran, all of this making of course, people also worried. But, and that's the good thing, we actually got a survey today and they were asking more than 51,000 companies here in Germany what they think how 2018 now is going to continue, if it's going to be a good year or rather a difficult year. And the result is actually very interesting because 40% think that, and they are optimistic, that we're going to have actually a stable developing also in the next upcoming weeks and months. Just 10% think that the perspective is actually not so good. And yeah, it's going to be also a very interesting week next week. Let me just ask you, are we hearing them again or not yet? No, we are not hearing you. So I'm just going to continue talking a little bit about what's going to happen also next week. It's going to be again a very busy week here at the stock market. Boson, big companies also such as Energy will open their books. Most likely the press conference of Energy is going to be very emotional because maybe you remember we have talked about that also in the past. Their CFO was attacked some weeks ago on the street when he was going to the bakery wanting to buy some bread for his family. He was attacked with a sorpity and was for many weeks in hospital, even with life-threatening conditions. So on Monday, it's going to be the first time he will be speaking in front of the public again. Also more strikes we're expecting at the French railway company SNCF. This has been happening already throughout the last weeks. Also very interesting is going to be the annual meeting next week taking place at the headquarters of Air France and KLM. Also, there have been lots of strikes lately. We got very strong comments from the French government saying if Air France is not able to solve this situation, there could be this scenario that Air France maybe in the future is not even going to exist anymore. And of course, Boson, Iran is going to be on the focus here of investors. How is the situation going to develop? We also are still waiting for more details from US President Donald Trump about sanctions, what those sanctions will indeed mean. So yeah, it's going to be a very busy week and certainly we'll be reporting about all of this here from Frankfurt.
From Frankfurt with Daniel Coop of DWTV for Channels Television. Thank you very much, and we do apologize for that technical break there in audio between Lagos and Frankfurt. We'll cover all of that for you here on Channels Television. And a very important story that Daniel talked about towards the end of that conversation had to do with US President Donald Trump's decision on Iran new sanctions that is suspended tomorrow, Saturday, the 12th of May. Let's get on and look at the US markets. We're looking at the numbers right now. All looks green on the futures front, from the Dow to the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq futures. Right now, the Dow futures about 0.08%, S&P 500 0.94%, the Nasdaq futures about 1% as well. Those numbers were taken about an hour ago, and things are looking rapidly interesting. The Dow Jones Industrial Average futures rose about 0.2% earlier. The futures also down. Nasdaq 100 futures turned higher, up to about 6,975. We're looking at Nasdaq now crossing the 7,000 to 7,404.97. That 0.14 has since moved on to 0.98, about 0.89% right now. So it looks a very positive day on Wall Street. But Asian stocks closed high on Friday with positive sentiments they took by gains that we saw on Thursday on Wall Street following softer than expected U.S. inflation data. The Nikkei 225 closed today 1.16% at 22,758.48 in Japan. In Seoul, the Kospi climbed 0.55% to 2477, aided by the move higher in tech and auto sector stocks. The Hang Seng, that's the stock index for Hong Kong, rallied 1.01%, while the index on track for its fifth straight day of gains. Meantime, mainland markets in China finished the day lower. The Shanghai Composite was off track 0.36%. The Shenzhen Composite fell 1.03% to 1825.14. Let's take a look at what we have back here on the market across the continent. Ghana has sold $2 billion US dollars worth of dual tranche Eurobonds with 10 and 30-year maturities and will pay issuer desired yields. That's good because the West African nation sold $1 billion each of the 10-year notes maturing year 2029 and another 30-year paper with 2049 maturity at 7.625% and 8.625% each. Ghana set the guidance for the May 2029 bond at 7.75% to 7.87%, while the May 2049 maturing paper was in the 8.75% to 8.875% range. The notes were first marketed in the low of 8% area yield and low of 9% mark. This is Ghana's sixth Eurobond sale since a debut on the global debt market in 2007. Meantime, Angola is planning to privatize 74 state companies over the next few years, predominantly those in the industrial sector. This is the largest privatization exercise in Angola. This prospectus sent to investors as part of the country's Eurobond issuance shows Angola is in the process of raising $3 billion through 2 new Eurobond issues. Angola, Africa's second largest oil producer, launched $1.75 billion in 10-year notes at 8.25% and another $1.25 billion of 30-year paper at 9.375%. In the offer document, Angola also sees its total debt, excluding that held by state oil firm Sonangol, reaching $77.3 billion US dollars. That's roughly 70.8% of the country's GDP by the end of 2018. Also, let's look at the business of healthcare investing and how this is spacing out. There's a need to invest more in what we call the Medicare investment, and that is the story that we're looking at right now, how Nigeria is moving on to put more into Medicare business. Let's get to that story up and running as we look at South Africa's manufacturing sector. Numbers showing that the South Africa's manufacturing sector grew slightly in the month of March. That's some of the latest numbers that we have, and you can see the output declining there by about 1.3% in March. South Africa, of course, holds the continent's second largest economy. The numbers showing that the production increased 1.3% month-on-month, but shrunk 1.7% in the 3 months to March 2018. The consumer-facing factors of clothing and electronic items took the hardest hit, falling by over 10%. South Africa's economy has grown more than expected last year by 3.1% in the final quarter and 1.3% for the whole year, cheered, of course, by agricultural output as the effects of severe drought ease off a little bit. Let's bring in crude oil into the conversation. It's been a very decent week. The global oil marketplace, no thanks to U.S. President Donald Trump throwing the Iran nuclear deal under the Obama administration in the trash can. Now we're seeing that oil prices rally as we speak. The WTI, that's the U.S. West Texas Intermediate, about 0.01%, a little below previous level at 71.37, but Brent crude benchmark, that's stubborn at $77.47 per barrel. We saw Brent early Thursday at $77 a barrel. That's tapered a little bit to $47 a barrel, keeping that rally that we saw since Tuesday. Let's take a break. We'll be right back on Business Incorporated.